Hi,
Hello.
welcome back to Not So Whimsical. Hi,
Hello.
this is Audrey.
Nice to meet you guys.
Do you want to get into what you do, who you are, and how we met, if you want? I don't know.
Yes. So I'm based in Paris. I'm French. I am an actress and a playwright and a wannabe stage director. I've been studying and practicing theater for 10 years now, and I'm just trying. It's been a few months that I'm really trying to get into the industry. We met in a scholar trip, a theater scholar trip, European scholar trip in Italy. You were coming from uh, Austria, obviously, with your theater classes. Is that it?
Well, it was actually we did that outside of school actually.
Okay.
But it was with Vivi, you remember her,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and with Anna, and we were just like we still want to do theater, let's go. And then but there was this other class from the school that we went to, so from the lycée, so we just kind of went with them.
For me, it was my school, and it was my postgraduate school, where I was still practicing theater with them, and yeah, we went there, and it was kind of a week, a festival of European theater playing in French, kind of.
In Italy, because
Yes,
that's
in
what
it,
we do.
because that makes sense. And yeah, so we had a week of uh, yeah, seeing things and acting, and then on the nights we would just party on the beach with everyone, and we did that every night. But we only met on the last night when your flight was like at 5 or 6 a.m. and mine was at 8, and so we just met. I was talking to a friend of mine, and then you just popped up and be like, hey, how are you? And I was like, okay, who are you? I'm talking right now. And then I don't know what happened exactly. I think he went to do something else, and we just stood there, both of us, and we were like, okay, well, let's just talk. Like, how are you? What do you do? And I don't know if it was the alcohol or a genuine connection, but at some point we started just talking about ourselves to each other, and we kind of connected in a weird way. And then you started, I think, kind of singing a James Bay song, and at the time, like, no one knew him, like no one knew
Hmm.
who he was, and I was obsessed about him, and so were you. And I was like, oh my god, that's crazy. And we just spent like the most of 2 to 3 hours, I think, on the beach, just singing and yeah, talking about each other, saying how we were the kind of weirdos, just too loud and too much, and people didn't accept that, and you know made us feel pretty bad about it. And yeah, I think it was the first time in my life that I felt understood about that. So it was, yeah, it was kind of crazy. So yeah, that's it about how we met. That's how I met, not your mother, but you.
It's true. We were both just sharing about how we feel too loud and too, because for me, this trip, I'm not gonna lie, it wasn't really that great. Like connecting with
Yeah,
people was really hard for me during that trip. And then you and I met, and I was like, everything that was so bad is now forgotten, you know?
yeah,
So
me
that
too.
was really cool.
Yeah, I was having a hard time too, because I had some friends in my school, and I don't know. I was just, yeah, weirdo. I never knew how to just have normal relationship with people. It has always been such a struggle just to understand what I should do or shouldn't, and what is right to say or not. And it's always been really weird. So, and I felt at the time like no one cared about me, so I had to talk a lot about myself and kind of put myself out there and be like, hey, hi, I'm here, I exist, whatever. And I wasn't comfortable with asking people questions, even if they were my friends. So my friends felt like I didn't care about them and I was only talking about me. But really it was just discomfort and, shyness and just being weird. On that trip, we had to choose our roommates, and we were like 4 or 5 girls, and they took the 4 people room, and and there was a 5 people room, and they took the 4 people room, and I couldn't go with them, and I was like, so I had to sleep for the week with other people who became my friends, who actually became some of my closest friends, and that the only one from that time that I still, that I'm still in touch with. So, but yeah, it was weird. So I think I spent the week crying. I think the night on the beach when we met is actually the only one I really went, and just stayed there the whole night, because I met you. I think if we hadn't crossed paths, then I would have just, maybe I would have drank a beer and just went back to sleep, because I didn't feel comfortable with anyone. I felt like everything was fake and I didn't fit in, and like everyone was getting along so well, and I was like, hello, bye, and everyone would be like, okay, who the fuck is that? So yeah.
That's so crazy. I had no idea, because I was doing the same thing, crying a lot. And there was this one night where I had a panic attack, and this one person I was sharing a room with, I didn't like that person to begin with. They started telling people that I was faking it for attention.
Fuck.
Yeah, of course. Of course. I just sit there and can't breathe because it's fun.
Okay, I couldn't find anything else to just, being seen as to almost die and cry a lot and, look ridiculous. And yeah, that's my strategy to gain friends. Effective. Pretty effective, as you could see, as the masses gathering in front of my, room door. Testify of it. Yeah. People are crazy.
People are so terrible, man.
And it's weird because they, feel, I don't know, threatened, or it's like you have this potential to be great and to have a lot of friends and to be loved. And it's like for years, you feel like an outsider because people that see it in you and feel like they don't have it, they use all their energy to just keep you from that. And then you spend years thinking like how you're not fit, you were made for this, and people just kept you from it. And it's so weird, same old jealousy symptom that seems kind of rubbish when people tell you that when you're 15 and you're like, what is there to envy? Like why would people be jealous of any, like, that doesn't make sense, because they are so much more blah blah blah. Absolutely. And actually they're not.
And that's the funny part, right? It's like
sorry, I don't know, can I
absolutely.
Okay, perfect.
No, but that's a funny thing, right? They see the potential that you don't even see. They know before you that you're meant for greatness, that I hate the word great ever since Trump. That's just the thing, right? Like they see it before you do, and you think you're just this trash bag, just like floating through the universe. And actually the jealousy part, yeah, I couldn't agree more. It's like when you know, the kids at school are mean and your parents are like, they're just jealous of you. That helps, Mom. Now they're going to stop being mean, obviously. When I was a kid, I would constantly say, you're just jealous. And they'd be like, of what? I'm like, I don't know, but Mom said that.
Now that you're an adult and that you've been through it, and you know it's because they're jealous, and you'd say it to your kid, you know, like, they're just jealous, and they wouldn't understand. And then, you know, I think it's also part of the journey to just struggle and hurt, and I hate, you know, people saying, yeah, no pain, no gain, or whatever. But at some point, I think you have to make your own experiences, and you have to hurt, and you have to, yeah, to, like, at some point, it has to be hard, just so that you can finally realize how easy it could be, and just appreciate the fact that sometimes it's just really easy, and there's no point in losing that much energy for some things. You know, there are some things like you have to struggle with because it is life, but some others it's just, you know, like cutting toxic person from your life, and it seems terrifying and, you know, impossible and whatever. And then when you find it, you know, when you find it in you to do it, and then it's just so easy. I mean, it's always kind of hard on the moment, but then it's just, when for me now it's really easy. I'm like, okay, you didn't fuck off. And we've spent, like, you know, 6 years together, and you were my best friend. But then at some point I'm like, okay, fuck off. And then I just forget about you, and you didn't exist, and that's fine. And it's not another trauma, you know, it's not something like I lie myself about. It's really like, no, okay, so you're toxic. And and yeah, it becomes quite easy.
You have been through a lot of those. I mean, a lot, but you've definitely had your fair share of like friendships where you had to be the bigger person and say, fuck off.
I mean, it happened like a few months ago, and I was like, again, like, seriously, really, are we still here? Okay, fine. Then if it's gonna be, you know, my whole life, I just have to go with it, you know. And I sent her a message when the corona started, and I was like, hey, okay, so I don't know where you're at right now. I just hope you're well. How is your family doing? I know it's been weird between us. And she never answered, and I was like, fuck, really? And we didn't fight, you know, we did not fight. I have no idea why at some point she just stopped talking to me, you know, from one day to the other. She just stopped. Yeah, I'm just like, well, fuck off, really. Like,
Yeah.
I don't understand. I mean, I tried, you know, I tried to just, you know, send her messages and try to understand and try to, you know, have a conversation about it. And she did not want to. So at some point I was like, okay, well, bye.
We were having a conversation 2 days ago, I think. And and you said that you're changing. You're not really sure how, but you're definitely like, this is the time for you to understand what's happening. And I find that super interesting because I remember you telling me about these important friendships in your life that were ending and how hard it was for you. And you would often try to find a reason why, like, if you did something wrong. And that's something that I had to learn on my end as well, is to be like, probably not. Like, it doesn't, if the person just decides to stop engaging with you and you do try, it's like there's just so much you can do, right? And I think it's just really cool to see that you're seeing it that way, because you're this strong person and you're this good-hearted person and you're just inherently good. And so it's so important that you know for yourself, like, okay, guess not, you're lost. Truth.
I'm working on it really, really hard every day of my life. Every time I have a hard time, I'm like, okay, what would be the good thing to do? Not the easiest, and yeah, knowing that I'm working that much on it, and that I really do try at least to make the best decision, not the easy one.
Yeah.
And then I'm just like, okay, so I've done my part of the deal, you know. And then
Yeah.
it's I mean, it could be so easy for you just to answer and tell me what is wrong, and you don't want to do it because it's easier to just ghost me. It's easy to put your pride aside when when the aim is feels worth it.
Mm.
And then when it's not, then it's also very easy to just take your pride back and be like, okay, now fuck off, because it's not worth it. Like I'm still a pride person, and it is something that I have to, I think that's it, you know. It's not fight, it's really struggle. It's really like being in this process where you try to just make the best out of a difficult situation. And yeah, I'm really proud. I mean, in the sense that I have a really strong pride and ego issue at some point. But yeah, that's what makes it really hard for me to try to be a good person. And also then it feels good to just, you know, be like, okay, now I can be proud because I've done the work. I've
Yeah.
set everything aside to try to do the right thing, and it didn't work. So now just, okay, now fuck off, and I know who I am, and I'm worth it. And now just, just, you know, get on your own way, whatever happens to you. I mean, I wish you well, but not in my life. I'm not, you know, this naturally nice, good person. You know, it's work. I see people and they're just like, fuck, they're just, you know, so nice, and nothing's a problem, and they'll do anything for you without second guessing it. And I'm not like that. I really have to, like, really my first reactions will be no, why, what if, could we not? Always, it's always the first thing. There are some people, they're just like, yeah, no, of course, please be my guest, blah blah blah. I'm like, "Ugh." Trying to get that. I'm just trying to get there in my journey to the goodness.
Speaking of
Yeah.
journey, so witchy stuff. When did that start? Did that start like during quarantine, or because I feel like your senses are more heightened now, your witchy senses.
Yeah, it's weird because I have always felt like there's something, you know. I mean, I've also always been really into, you know, like superhero stuff and magical stuff and fantasy and sci-fi, and always loved it. So I think maybe, you know, as any little boy or girl that wants to be a superhero, then I had this like, okay, I have superpower. Like whatever, if I just, you know, concentrate really hard, then things will move, and I will like whoosh the things around me and be like woo, and it never worked. But but I always had something like, you know, this kind of heightened sense. I wouldn't know how to describe it. I think it started when I mean, I graduated, and then I went to a, how do you say that? Classe prépa.
That's a French thing because the schools are so highly competitive. You
Yeah.
do 2 years of like prep school basically, and it's hardcore.
That's where I met the friends that made me more aware about politics and feminism and just trans identity and LGBTQIA. It started there, I think. At some point, I had do you say contraception?
Contraceptive, I think.
A hormonal implant in my arm for 2 years. And I didn't have my period for 2 years. And it was really weird because it was at the same time that I went to drama school, and it was intense and it was really harsh, and it was weird. I was kind of a lesser version of myself, and I didn't know if it was because of the school, because of the implant, because of both of it. Because, you know, we had this space where we were like yeah, kind of 60 hours in the week with the school, be it in it or just rehearsing or just learning lines, and it was crazy. And so not having my period, I think it kind of saved me, because I wouldn't have been, I know I wouldn't have been able to do the 2 years if I had had my periods, just because, SPM and is that it?
PMS.
Yes.
In French, we reverse everything.
Yeah. So yeah, PMS, and I would get really, really just emotional and aggressive, and
hormones, man.
Yeah, and it was so intense in this school that I wouldn't have been able to just do it. And then when I got out, I realized how, it was weird not having my periods. And also I had been trying to get more in touch with my femininity and, sacred femininity and all of this stuff. And I felt like, well, it's not right, to be talking about all of that stuff and connection to the moon and whatever, when I myself didn't have my period. So I took it off. And yeah, it started on, I think my thing with witches and everything started in June, and I took it off in October. So 3 months later, there is a book, which is the, what would be the name in the title in English? The Untamed Power of Women, something like that. And I read it for whatever reason. I don't know, because everyone was talking about it, and it was amazing and really changed a lot of things for me. Just how this writer, it's a thesis, really. It's really, something big and really intellectual on feminism, and she always puts things in parallel with the witch and the witches, and where they come from, and what happened then, and what happens now, and how, it just rules the way we see women in our society. It's all about witches. It comes from 600 years ago, and it's still there, and it's still really powerful, but in another way, so we don't see it exactly. And yeah, I think that changed a lot of things. I bought a deck of cards, started reading the cards, and it felt, I don't know, it just felt right. It felt like, we were talking about that, like just connecting to your intuition and how your body knows things. We are taught to just rely on sciences and rely on the elder and rely on men and rely on, whoever has the power. Yay, my raven friends are coming in. We are taught that we cannot, there are so many things that we cannot understand by ourselves, and that we need guidance to understand and to do and to whatever. We're taught that feeling in your guts is not what should prevail, that reason and academic knowledge should prevail about all of this, and actually shouldn't, because they work together. They're just linked with one another, and there is no point in having that much academic knowledge if you're not linked to your intuition, and if you can't tell by just feeling, because sometimes the right thing does not make sense and is not reasonable, and it's risky, but it is the right thing to do. I'm looking at the stars, and I'm looking at the moon, and I'm just trying to feel what's right and what's not, and not relying on things, because at the end of the day, they're just means to connect you to your intuition, but there are so many other ways that you could do that, and it's just meditating yeah, try to contemplate your life and how you work from inside. And
That's what we love doing, right? Like buying tools and buying things because this is what is going to lead us to whatever. But I mean, we have the tools in ourselves. And I know that sounds awfully cheesy, but it's like you felt like something was missing when you, like, once the 2 years of drama school were over, and you know, you were talking about sacred femininity and all these things, but you didn't feel connected. And that's the thing. It's like, I know that contraception is important for some people. I know that it's also, there can be many reasons for it, why you use, like why you take the pill, why you take an implant. My doctor had been constantly trying to push me to get contraception. Well, and the pill really because of my hormonal, because of my hormones basically. And then I was like, but you're a man. I don't care if you're a doctor. This is not going to be good for me, and I need my cycle. I need to understand because that is something that only people who have a menstrual cycle and try to connect with it, I'm assuming, they're the only people who will understand how magical it can be. Of course, it's annoying to have your period for 45, 50, 100 years. I don't know. But I think we were so programmed to hate that part of us, to be so ashamed, you know, when like you slip a tampon to someone because they're on their period and you're like, but don't let the boys see or whatnot. What are you talking about?
it is it is the process that gave life to 100% of humanity. So what the fuck are you talking about? Like, what do you mean? You know, with periods, there is a lot of things that comes with it, like pain and you know, cramps and hormones. But I feel like if you have a little bit more control and understanding of it, then it's already helping. You know, like for me, it made all the difference when I heard of SPM and how it was a thing, how, you know, it made sense that 3 days before my periods I would have, you know, this kind of depressed episode where I just want to lay in bed all day in the dark and just cry for no reason. Like I couldn't, you know, I really couldn't say what was it that was going wrong, and also everything was going wrong, and I felt like I was crazy, you know. All these things about, you know, witches and women being hysterical and being crazy, and it's just because some things happen that make sense, but you're not told that it makes sense and that it happens to everyone. So then, yeah, at some point you start feeling crazy and lunatic and be like, what the fuck is going on with me? And because you don't understand, then you're feeling guilty, and you know, then you're harsh on yourself, then you're harsh on everybody else because they don't understand. And then you'll be like, okay, so because I'm not in control of what I think and what I understand, I will leave to the others that seems to have more reason than me
Mhm.
to just tell me what is right or wrong, or you know, or what should happen with me. And it's bullshit because it's so easy to do. You know, it's like with a child, if you never tell them what's happening with them in a benevolent way, you know, then then you could control them and do whatever you want with them, because they don't understand and they feel like, okay, I will rely on you because you are telling me whether I make sense or not, you
Mhm.
know. And
Yeah.
that's bullshit. And it's just, we need to teach each other. We need to, and the best way to do that is just to try and listen to yourself. It's not about being uh, a wise, you know, kind of this wise shaman who knows thing and is going to teach you everything about you. And it's just, yeah, trying to find the ways to put other people on their own path. It's not about, I am going to teach you what is you. It's just, for me, it worked like that. And I've been reading this and I've been watching that and listening to this, and that helped me. It
Yes.
could not help you because I don't know what you're going through, but just, you know, also with these tips, I've been more in touch with myself, and there is no right way to be a woman. as there is no right way to be a human, you know.
Exactly. And that's what I was talking about with Joanna as well. It's like, I'm not here to teach you something. I'm here to give you, to just say, this works for me. If you think this could work for you, and maybe you have a completely different way of working through it, it's here now. It exists, and you do with it whatever you want. And I agree. There's no right way to be a human to begin with. But also something that just struck a chord before was like, when you were saying, you know, and sometimes we feel like lunatics and we get all hysterical and whatever. Since when is that a bad thing? When and this is going into very like sexist territory, but you know, like when guys get mad, it's like, ooh, he's so strong and he's so hot. Like in movies, I'm talking.
You know how it is when he's drinking, and you're like, what the so okay, so drinking, like alcohol is something that, you know, justifies everything, but hormones, which is literally an alchemical, you know, reaction, it doesn't make it. Okay, right.
Yeah, because like if a woman gets aggressive, it's like, God, I bet she's on her period, or she's on her days, and her just like, it's so sad, I'm gonna have to kill you now.
Yeah, I would beat the shit out of you even on a you know, on a basic day, but do not cross me when I'm on my days, because then you would die. I wouldn't be able to control my hysterical thirst of blood. But
intermission time. I know it's hard to say goodbye, but we'll be back soon with more fun stuff to talk about. 'Cause it's the Not So Whimsical Podcast.